Thank you so much. Thank you. That's such a lovely comment. I don't actually think my accent is that perfect, but I do try my best. But funny you should mention accents because when I first moved to UK permanently, which was towards the end of 1999, obviously my English, so I've only learned English at first at school, and then it got better obviously the longer I was in UK. But what I also decided, because obviously at the time I was moving to get married to an Englishman, obviously we're divorced now, but we had two kids together. So because I was obviously moving countries with, never, I wasn't planning on going back, and I'm not planning on going back because I made England to be my home, Britain. And to me, it was very important that as someone who obviously wasn't born here, that I would still honour and respect the culture. That I wanted to make sure that I adopt like the traditions. Like I've always been very grateful that I can be here in UK. And obviously it took me a long time to become a citizen, like through all the proper channels, like with visas and then the citizenship tests and making sure that I speak the language the best way I can, because obviously English is actually my third language. So I was brought up simultaneously with Latvian and Russian, because when I was born, Latvia was still part of the Soviet Union, and Russian was like the official language of the Soviet Union, so everybody had to learn Russian. And I think that was a good thing, because I certainly don't regret growing up with a second language. And a lot of Eastern Europeans actually like to learn languages. That's my cat meowing in the background. He wants to go outside, but it's raining. He's actually an indoor cat, so he's not supposed to go outside, but I take him on the harness and lead like a little dog. So a lot of Eastern Europeans like to learn languages because I think there is that respect that when you go to another country, you should at least try to attempt to speak the language of that country. It shows respect. And when I first came over, I was obviously taught Queen's English. So it took me a while, but obviously I ended up in Derbyshire. And there's a lot of obviously different accents in UK. So the one I've ended up with is Derbyshire accent, which is kind of together with a Latvian accent. So sometimes I sound Derbyshire, and other times I have a bit of a Latvian accent when I speak English. But it also depends on the time of the day, because if I'm tired, my Latvian comes out. But interesting thing is, since I've been in UK for 26 years now, and my children are English, that they've been born and raised here. The father's side is English, obviously, and me speaking English every day, I actually think in English as well. So it's kind of hard to explain, because obviously when I first moved over, I would translate things in my head and then translate it back to reply in English. But eventually my brain switched to thinking in English. And I found that was the same when I used to speak Russian. So growing up, I had a lot of Russian neighbours and friends, would watch Russian TV, and I grew up with both languages, obviously Latvian, first language, but then simultaneously Russian from 6 months old, basically. And it's kind of like my brain switches between channels. But now I would say English is definitely my best language, even though I still like the grammar. I think the grammar, because like in my formative years, I was brought up with Latvian and Russian. So the grammar sometimes gets mixed up, and I have to think, like sometimes when I pause, I'm always thinking, am I saying this correctly? Does that make sense? And I'll make a lot of pauses, but I kind of just wanted to make this little video to sort of speak about that, because like I said, I'm just very grateful that I've been able to make a home in this country. I love UK. I've worked, I work, I pay my taxes. I'm just very grateful. So I think the least I could have done was learn the language and speak properly and adopt the UK culture. Doesn't mean I've forgotten or forsaken my Latvian roots. No, I haven't. But I also know that if anybody moves to live in another country, you kind of have to make that your home. So that's what I've done. And thank you for congratulating me on my book. I'm very, very nervous. I'm nervous because I'm releasing it end of March. It's in its final stages, and I just hope it can help someone to, as they read it, to get the courage to do what's right for them. So for some people that might mean that they need inspiration to leave a high control group, religion, such as whether that's being Jehovah's Witnesses or another, or even a situation where you kind of, if you're not happy and you going along with things, and I'm talking about, I'm not sure if TikTok allows that sort of language here, but I'm talking about maybe unhealthy situations. So I wrote it as a tribute to my younger self, but at the same time I want to inspire people, and I hope it's going to help someone. And even if it helps just one person, then I'm forever grateful. And I will be, when the book gets loaded and ready for print, I will be putting the live link in my bio and doing more videos around it. I want to do little teasers, and so that whoever watches it and decide if that's something for them, if they'd like to know more. Talking about Soviet Latvia, post-Soviet Latvia, when Jehovah's Witnesses came into Latvia and how they recruited me, and actually a lot of other people in very similar situation, the brainwashing process, being an immigrant. I also speak about that, and speak about my transition into making UK my home. And obviously at the time I was married, so I speak about relationships as far as it concerns my journey to do with Jehovah's Witnesses, and then leaving Jehovah's Witnesses, why I left, what I learned, and it's a very raw memoir, because obviously I speak about things that are not always pretty. Also post Jehovah's Witnesses years, a lot of deconstruction, a lot of trying things out where you're learning a whole new life outside of religion, and also trying to reintegrate yourself into society, and that's not always easy, especially when you being almost, I would say, held back, especially in relationships. It's a very honest memoir, and I also give a lot of tips on healing and what helped me, what I've learned, and I hope that is going to be my gift to people who want to read it. So thank you again for your beautiful comment, and thank you for watching, and I look forward to sharing more about my book soon, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks, bye.